I'm in the shop today, taking a break from some painting of specialized cabinets I'm doing in the paint booth. And while I'm waiting for that to dry, I wanted to do a quick project for a client. Here is a cabinet drawer pull. It's probably, let's say, 30, 40 years old, and it broke. And the customer has, I think, 6 other ones, so instead of replacing all of it, they want it to match. So we're going to try something. We're going to solder it, and this can go completely good or completely bad. Alright, here we have our handle. We're going to take the screws off. Maybe we can get it a little bit flatter here. Let's see what we got. Oh, we need to get it up like that. Maybe like so. I don't know. How did this break? Not a clean break. Very odd. We're gonna try soldering technique of heating it up and then soldering the pieces together. Wanted to try that, see if it's going to be a little bit stronger than doing what I normally do is epoxy. Since this is metal, I was going to see if that worked a little better. Getting this lined up's not good here. There's a weird break in it. It wasn't a clean break. So I gotta line it up the best I can. It's like it's missing a chunk. Let's see, one more I don't know if this is going to do anything, but one more to keep it parallel. Guess the more the merrier, huh? So what I'm using is a little propane, sorry. Might not get hot enough, but we'll give it a try. And this is probably about 60-year-old solder from my grandfather, so we'll see if that works too. So we're putting a lot of faith in that a lot of stuff will go right. Alright, that didn't work, so we're going to try some resin core. I think this pot metal it's not going to braze. I think you need brass or something like that. Alright. Well, there you have it. You can't braze pot metal. So I guess just leave it to the brass. We'll just have to try epoxy or something else to see if we can put it together. So there, it looks like it is brass. It's plated. I guess it's a plated brass. You can see on the inside the pot metal. I don't know if you can see that close. but you just have to take my word for it. In the middle there, it is pot metal, and the outside is a brass. So we're just going to have to epoxy it together. I think that's the best we're going to do. Right now I'm just taking the wire wheel, cleaning it up a little bit before I get the epoxy out. So in preparing to epoxy, I like to take popsicle sticks and cut them down just to give a little, for smaller areas, give a little bit of a kind of a spatula. It's easier to work with instead of using that big old blunt end. Now if it's a bigger project, we might use the whole thing, but for this being small, I just need a little bit. Now we need to put some epoxy down here. So you get some tape, make a little work area for the epoxy. This is Gorilla Glue 5-minute epoxy. I like to keep this on hand for small projects. I've got West System epoxy for other projects, but I don't like to mix a big old batch of it. So for small stuff, I pull out the good old 5-minute epoxy. I think any brand, it really doesn't matter. They're all the same. You can get Harbor Freight. I like this because it dispenses in 2 separate tubes. Just easier that way. But Harbor Freight's isn't that bad either. It's just it just comes in 2 little tubes. So now I'm just mixing up the epoxy. Alright. So now we just get a little bit of epoxy on the end. We add it to the piece. That's going to be looks like they're joining pretty good. We're going to tape it down anyway. I don't want to sit here for 5 minutes. So to clean it up a little bit before it gets set, I'll just take the popsicle. Let's see if I can use the end of it here. Just get some of the extra like that. There you go. Alright, we're just going to leave that there and let it dry. As you can see. And we'll come back in a few minutes and we'll check out, see how it's set. Okay, so it's been 15 minutes. I did another project while this was drying. But when time's of an essence and you need to know when the epoxy is set, this is how a good test I like to use. I leave my the epoxy mix that I made. That way I can see where it's at. So now you can see that my stick is cured. So it's not 100% cured, but it's cured enough that it can be handled. You still need to give the 24 hours before you put any load. But at least you know that it should be strong enough. So let's come back to our handle here. And let's see here. And that's not a good sign. It's bending. So yeah, it's still either setting or it's just too weak. There's not enough glue joint there to connect. We're going to let it sit overnight for the full 24 hours. We're not going to be able to give it immediately back to the customer. I don't think this is even going to hold, but we'll give it a try. If not, we'll figure something else out. Okay, it's been about 12 hours. We let the epoxy sit. So let's take a look at it now and see how well it is holding. Alright, let's remove some of this tape. And there you go. The epoxy didn't hold. So that's a complete fail. Let's I guess I'll do some research and figure out some other way. See what else some other way we can fix it. If you have any ideas, feel free to give me a comment. I'd love to hear them. Good morning. It's the next day, and it was recommended to me to use JB Weld, the two-part epoxy. Don't have that, but I do have something else. So I do have JB Weld Speed Stick. It is an epoxy putty. It's a two-part putty that you kind of knead together and turns into like a silly putty type consistency. We'll give that a try. I'm not sure how it is on putting two pieces together, but it says it'll work on metal. Okay, so here's the steel stick out of the package. We're going to cut. Let's see if we can get this thing out of here. There we go. We just need to cut a little bit out. Don't need much. Now we got about 3 to 5 minutes of time to work with it, and then it sets in an hour, so I like that. So here you can see the inner part, and the outer part is the two different parts of the epoxy. You take the outside wrapper off, and then you just knead it together. So it's just like any other two-part epoxy. This is just in a solid form. Yeah, that's mixed up, so we just need a little bit here. Not even that much. Alright, we're going to let that sit for an hour. We'll come back, we'll take a look at it, and see how well it holds. Alright, it's been an hour. Here's our test epoxy. It's rock hard. So let's give the handle a test to see if it's going to work or not. Well, look at that. It's better than the epoxy. It's holding. I don't want to. Yeah, it's pretty good. I don't want to put too much pressure on it because I want to let it cure fully. But this is a lot more successful, and it's freezing cold in here too. So, oh, there you go. It's still a little. It came apart a little bit. I think that would work better. I should just let it sit a little longer. Yeah, it did come apart. And plus it's cold, so it probably needs to be in a warmer temperature in the garage today. So we'll give it another shot, but I think we will go with that route. But definitely, if you have another suggestion on how we can do this a little better, please give me a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you, and I appreciate it if you'll subscribe to the channel. Thank you.